Hey, good to see everybody. How are we doing? Harry, good to see you. Trace, good to see you. Let's hop in here and let's talk about I think it's the transformation models. Let's do it. I'm going to make a model right here. Let's do this. Data equals. Let's show what I'm doing. So the question right now is working with transformed models. How do we make a transformed model? And the first thing we need before making a transformed model is to just make a model. Remember, don't use height and weight. That's my classic one, so don't steal my height and weight variable. So, not that it's my variable, but it's just the one I use a lot of examples for. If you have questions, let us know. Just put those questions in the chat. So all I've done right here is create a model. We'll have it so it auto-completes it. There we go. This is a model predicting somebody's weight from their height, and it's from the dataset survey 11. We're storing it into the object M. Always try to read your code as a sentence. So what we need to do now is we need to let's just look at the model. The summary of the model gives us the coefficients of the model. There's the summary of the model right here, the summary right there, and the visualization of the model. The visualization of the model is going to show us the relationship, and it looks like there is a little bit of non-linearity down here at the bottom especially. So we're predicting someone's weight from their height, and I do appear to see some non-linearity, an extreme outlier, and all this could be done with the check regression, which is another part of the assignment. But let's focus in on finding transformations right here. The find transformations function is in reg class, so make sure you have library reg class loaded up. Library reg class is going to allow us to insert the model M in here to find the transformations for it. And what does this do? It searches through a vector of all different types of transformations to see which of these, from a power of -3 to +3, is the best transformation to increase the R squared. Looking right here, we can see our original model, which we just saw a moment ago, which has the no transformation to it. There's the extreme outlier, here's some of the other outliers, and there's the bit of non-linearity. We do still have a problem with our best transformation right here with an extreme outlier. We might want to take a look at this person. They are kind of a point that should not exist because they say they're 75 inches tall and they're 75 pounds. I've looked at this data, so I know this person's numbers. You could search through and look at the data, but we won't focus on that right now. But they are 75 inches tall and 75 pounds. I think they double entered their data in because I am 6'3", and I'd have to lose 110 pounds to be this height, and I don't think I have 110 pounds to lose. So I don't think that's correctly entered data, and they are appearing wherever here. I believe that is that point right there. And so besides the conversation of removing the outlier, we do have the conversation of what is the best transformation. The best transformation right here is going to yield an R squared of 41%, which is better than what we had before. There's a conversation to be had. Should we use the transformation, which we're going to lose some context right here? And the answer is maybe. I don't know. What we need to do this transformation is we need to take our y variable, which the y variable is weight, and we autocomplete right here, always autocomplete, and raise our y variable to the third power. Now, this is why you're seeing this crazy scale on these numbers. These were the weight raised to the 0.5. Have I switched my y? Weight. Oh, weight is supposed to be raised to 0.5. I think I did switch them. And that's where we make the error. That's why we check our work. The y variable is supposed to be raised to this. So let's do that. I put it in parentheses right here. And now you see the scaling right here on the side that you are seeing with the 0.06. A lot of the values are around there, which it was height, which is the x variable. You can see right there was raised to the third power. So height is going to be raised to the third. And that's why we see the large scale metric down here of values like 400,000 in this area right here. Now, our goal with these variables, and let's just store them right here as y transformed and x transformed. These vectors are now stored to the global environment down here. They're not inside of a data frame. X transformed, y transformed. I have a whole bunch of different vectors right here, all stored in different spots. Make sure yours are stored. And then with that, we can create a new model. Let's call it the model transformed. And we are literally building this model right here. We should see the same sort of pattern. We're going to do the LM. These are stored to the global environment, so we don't need to call a data frame. Once again, they are just in the global environment. They're not appended to a data frame, which we could technically do by doing the following, and this would append them to a data frame. So this is another option right here, just kind of doing it where they're appended to a data frame. They're now part of the survey 10, also in the global environment, but only if you append them to a data frame would you have access to them in a data frame. What do I mean by appending to a data frame? If you store to a position that does not exist in a data frame, then inside of that data frame, let's go to that data frame. That data frame's right here. You can see the Y transform variable and the X transform variable are now inside of the survey 10 data frame because I stored to a position that does not exist. So with this right here, I'm having trouble with number 1. I can pick up easily and find other things, but I just don't know how to create regression for my own data. Which data are you working with, Aisha, and which variables do you want to work with? So remember, use your own variables and everything. Which data are you working with and which variables? So you want to run the linear model right here and create whatever variables you want. Good questions right there, Aisha. Feel free. Keep delving into it. Let's do it. And now we're going to visualize our model. And yep, there it is. And figure's too large for margin. And this is the visualization we saw a moment ago. I think it's missing some of the extreme outliers, but we're seeing this visualization down here. These 1, 2, 3 points should be here in the bottom corner. There's those 1, 2, 3 points. Would you not want to choose data equals survey 10? Right here, if you are storing to the survey 10, if you stored to survey 10, you need to choose this. But if you did the code the following way, I think this might answer Trace. If you did it the following way, then you would not. So now they're stored to the global environment, so you'd want to do it this way. But if you stored to survey 10, you see how I'm appending vectors right here? You probably wouldn't want to overwrite. You wouldn't want to, like a bad idea would be to do this. But if you do this right here, you're overwriting them. So if I do this right here, now if I go back, like this is a bad idea. If I were to go back up here and run this, this model now is actually the transformed model. You see it doesn't have the X trans and Y trans name on it. MTCar is not sure which variables I want to work with yet. I'll pick any two. Pick any two. So pick any two. All you want to do. So good question right there. If you have the empty cars, so I want to make sure everyone does kind of unique work. So I'm kind of working with the constant height and weight. So that's kind of my goal right here is to like have people do new things. So I don't want to do something other people could do. So I'm probably going to take out points if people use height and weight. I might send a reminder like, don't use height and weight. That's my one example that I'm stealing. If you look at the empty cars, the first variable you put in here, there's empty cars. The first variable you put right here, whenever you make a model, is always your what variable. The first variable you put right here is always your what variable. So if you're looking at the empty cars data frame, which we can see right here, the first variable you put right here is always your what variable. This was a multiple model for it. First variable you put right here is always your this variable. The format of it. This is always the what variable right here. Whenever you have this right here, this is always your what variable. That is the y variable. And this is your x variable. You can have more x's, like in the multiple world, you just do pluses, important for the next assignment. If you do dot, dot means all of them, dot. So you've got y tilde x plus x plus x plus x if you want data equals. What's interesting is what you can do. You can actually use minus. You can do dot minus cylinder. And you can actually make a model of every variable except for cylinder. So you can actually use the minus. You can use plus or minuses. So you can remove variables off the model by using minus. Like let's say I don't want disp in here anymore. Just a little bit of kind of multiple talk right here, and I'm removing variables. So you're just putting here y tilde x comma data equals, and it just depends on which variables you're using. Here's your y variable. The tilde then separates the parts of the equation. The dot means all variables, so we don't usually use like a dot unless you want to call all of them, but you might do something. You just want to make a simple model to be very clear. A simple model means you're just going to use 1x. Does this make more sense, Aisha? Are you on the right track with this now? You're just trying to make a 1x, y variable combination, and then you can look over here at the data frame to see what the x's are in the model. And then your y variable is the one you want to understand. You can also view the data by doing this right here, and there are actually different names of cars we can see. There's 32 names of cars right here. But keep asking those questions. I'm going to leave a tiny bit early today because I have an interview type thing at 3 p.m. It was added to my calendar. Make sure. I'm going to double check. It's with the conversation. Ask questions if you have it. I'm going to hop to Spice. Let's see right here. The conversation. See, I haven't got an email being like, Brian, you're late. Let's see right now. Should be. It's marked on my calendar. So we will see what people are saying in the chat. I haven't interviewed. What's your interview for today? Is there a way to limit fine transformations to the top 5 transformations or so? Yeah, let's take a look at that. Kirsten, really good question. Because, yeah, I don't like all the output. You could always delete it off. Fine transformation should just print out the best 3 in the window. That's a really good question. Let's go do that. If I missed the interview thing, then that's my own fault. It's marked on my calendar, so I hope. Time zones. I hate time zones. We should just have like a standard time for everything. Don't they have that? I don't know. Let's go check it out. So with the fine transformations, I need a linear model in it. Well, we've destroyed our data set. Let's go back here. We need to recreate our height weight model. And so let's go create that height weight model for an applied statistics. Oh, that is awesome. Trace, amazing job. Good luck. Tell me how it goes. I actually got a message from, did they send me it on LinkedIn? I'll show that really quickly if I can. A former student sent a message on LinkedIn talking about the success that they had. And can I click on this? This is, yeah. So I'm going to show you a screenshot of this message right here. I don't want to show their name because they haven't, yeah, here we go. This is an actual message. Makes me really happy to see stuff like this and get messages from people on LinkedIn. But just wanted to give you a shout out for all the help you gave me in the past. Today, my CEO used the data I put together using the skills that I largely learned in your class and email with several high-ranking members of the U.S. Navy. So, yeah, so the skill sets we are doing working with data is literally, that's the point of this class, is like, and that's what this assignment's all about. It's like, hey, take this skill set right here and utilize this to understand how to make models, interpret models, understand what's going on with the code. We don't just code, we understand what's going on with our code. So we're not just here to write code, we're here to say like, okay, well then what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? And degrees of freedom, no one cares about. That's just a calculation thing. He's like, what's the degrees of freedom? Well, it's used to calculate distributions and p-values and all that stuff. But we let the computer do that for us. It'll find the p-value. There's the p-value. Super significant. Awesome. So I'm really honored when people say like, hey, I'm using this stuff because it's people do data analytics. It's what we do. Let's look at the fine transformation code right here and see if we can get it to do what we want. Okay. The threshold 0.02, actually, so Kirsten and Trace, we could manipulate the threshold right here. So I'm going to do a threshold manipulation right here to get it to not return so much output. Here's what I'm going to do. This is going to take 2 runnings of it. Figures too large for margins. Let's fix that. Figures too large for margins. Let's fix that. Figures too large. I'm kidding. Okay. Oh my God. Yeah, I wouldn't. It's too much. Okay. Well, we're going to have a little bit of an issue. We might. I have an idea too. I have a few ideas. If I knit that, so one is you could put this in a chunk that does not show output. And then if you go to this output you created right here, the output is okay, good. We should be able to show, no, rows 1 through 3. There we go. So what you would need to do is you need to put this in a chunk that does not evaluate. I'll show you how to do that. Really? So you need to go to your assignment, just any old assignment. You need to go here, like just a spot. You need to add in a chunk, and you need to put the options on the chunk. Show nothing, run code. Okay. Did everyone see what I clicked right here into the options? I clicked show nothing, run code. Does that make sense there, Kirsten? I'll show it by my head. The output options are show nothing, but still run the code. But then, so this will run this code right here. It will run that and show the output, but it's not going to print anything to the screen. But if I do want to show the top 3 in my output, I'm going to go down here to a chunk that is just operating normally. So this is include equals false. There's an eval option. Eval will not evaluate. And then there's an echo, which shows the code. There's different options for chunks you can put right here. Include equals false means it's just not going to show the output. And so we're just using this chunk right here, which we could just call this fine transformation chunk. That gives it a name for the chunk. If we're searching through, we should see the fine transformation chunk name. There we go. It should rename it now. Where are you at, fine transformation? Really? Q3A, right above Q3A. Did I not rename it? Am I losing my mind? Oh, does it have to have a comma after it? I'm losing. There we go. Yeah. So that's one way of doing it. The other way, which I'm trying to do also, which is going to have less. You can do the threshold equals. If yours has a better threshold than mine, you might be able to do it this way. So this is the second way I'm considering right here. You see, I'm manipulating the threshold by which we, and just depends on how far it's calculating those out. Just due to these being so close, it looks like it's showing the same values, which is a bummer. It's equating these all as the same as the same r squared. So these all have the same r squared. They're basically the same transformations for all intents and purposes. But like I could just carry this as far out. And I wish Dr. Petrie's code, we'd have to go in the code here, carried a little more of the p-values further out on that. Or not the p-values, but the r squareds. So we'd actually have to go in and check out the fine transformation code and ask it, why are you not carrying out more decimals when you run that? There we go. So let's just take a quick look at this. This is kind of our deep dive into the fine transformation function right here. And we need to look at where the r squared is being saved. Let's go fine transformations 2, and we'll store into it the same function. And there's all the code Dr. Petrie wrote for it. We need to go to where the r squared is being saved. This is kind of our cool deep dive into it. Sometimes we do a deep dive during office hours. Here's where the correlation's being found, all this good stuff. Oh, here's where he's squaring it. Okay, wait, he's rounding it to 3 digits. This is it. 7 digits. Okay, cool. So we just fixed it. Now, when we do find correlations 2, now we're getting it. Here we go. We just fixed it. We could also add in an argument to round it, but if you notice right here, which it looks a bit ridiculous now, so if I want to go to this, that's about a 0.002, I think. And there's the top 3. So we went into the code now. The reason they were all coming out the same is because they were rounded to 7 digits. I mean 4 digits. We changed the rounding on the r squared to 7 digits by finding where he was getting it. He didn't find r squared. He rather found correlation and squared the value of correlation, but then he took and rounded it to 7 digits. I don't expect people to do stuff like this, but it's good to see how this is being done, where he's taking and collecting up his power of I right here and power of J, and he's like creating this list right here, and he's got like all the code doing to nested for loop, go through all the powers. He's going through the powers of the X variable and then switching it to the next power of the Y and going through. So Kirsten, really good question. Let's throw out some points for that. 50 points. Hopefully seeing this, I hope, adds to people's knowledge, because this, doing stuff like this, being able to like fix and change someone's code to get what you want is kind of the goal. And you know what we could do? We're going to make one more change to this to make it even easier. So what we're going to do right here, Kirsten, is we're going to make it with the output. I can tell you how to make this way easier. Let's say we don't want to mess with Dr. Petrie's rounding. We're going to make our life easier right here with the return, because he's probably going to return at the end. Here it is. Print results. Okay. So what we want to do here is we want to enter in, and he has selected right here in results. I'm going to go right here and overwrite results. And on the overwritten results, I'm going to go into results, and I'm only going to take results 1 through return amount. So I'm going to have return amount right there. And this is going to select only these rows. Return amount is going to be default value. So wait, if return amount is, wait, I messed it up. is not, this is good practice for me too. If return amount is not NA, then run the following code. So if someone enters in a value for return amount, there we go right there. We go back up here to the start of the code, and we're going to go right here, enter in another argument, make it a little easier to see. Return amount equals NA. Okay, so what have we done here, Kirsten? This, hopefully it's not too confusing, but find transformations 2 is going to work almost the exact same way as Dr. Petrie's function. And when you see we have find transformations 2, will it show it? Find transformation 2 has this argument called return amount. So I don't have the decimal changes right here on how many decimals we're returning. I'm just going to return a certain amount of rows. I think it should work. We just go here to return amount equals 3, and boom, we've done it. Does it make sense what I did? Hopefully it does. Hopefully someone's watching and it made sense. But does this whole return amount argument that I added into the code make sense? I said, like, if someone enters in a return amount, that's what the if is doing right here. Like, if it's not missing, run this code. And what this code does is it overwrites results with only 1 through the value of return amounts. So when I said return amount equals 3, it then went and it overwrote what was in results with only results of rows 1 through 3 of the results data frame. So this return amounts argument right here, which actually might be the default second argument, will now make it that we get only those rows returned. Yeah, and this is if you could do this stuff, you'd be acing 474. Like, this is an A student in 474. I do not expect 320 students to be at this level, but I hope it can make sense. And then our goal is we could say, like, hell, we can make this function better, because I don't want this large amount of output, you know, and we could put a max output right here or something. Like, we could put a default return amount very quickly on this. And then I see Trace has a question. Thank you so much, Trace. The last thing I want to comment on this is, rather than putting it as NA, you could put a default as 10. And now by default, you're not going to get a crazy amount of returns. It'll only return up to, we might run into a problem though, because maybe it'll try to return within 10. We need to be careful though, because I can see how the code could break right now. Yeah, and then we have to be careful if someone puts in a return amount that's like way bigger than our code. Like, I haven't crash tested this a billion times. Let's try 500 and see what it does. Yep, that's exactly what I thought it would do. There does not exist. So then we need to do checks. This is missingness. If we return something with missingness, the code needs to return back and return only to a max amount. So there's debugging that needs to happen, because someone can break our code right now. We don't want them to return 500 values when we don't have it. There we go. For 6B, would QSec? Yeah, sure. Yeah, and then take a look at it. Look for transformations. Yeah, exactly. Aisha, great work right there. Just go through, look at the values, make your model, see how it works, check the conditions, interpret the values. Exactly. I was talking about Tracy. Aisha, great job. Keep working on it. Excellent work. Keep asking those questions. Perfectly fine. Any variables you want. And then try to interpret it. I'll mention Aisha's, then I'll go to Trace's real quick. Probably something I should have done during class, because it's always good to know the data set you're working with, is to do question mark. And I don't know what QSec is, but QSec is the 4th mile time. How fast I think the car drives a 1/4 of a mile in. I guess that's when they put the pedal to the metal. And it's a 1/4 mile test for the car. That's what it sounds like to me. Disp is displacement. DRAT is rear axle ratio. I don't know a lot of these things. And then you find out a little bit more about what this data set's from. So a lot of good stuff. And then they've got some code right here doing all the selecting certain things within. I don't even know what the within function does. So Aisha, feel free to take a look at this. A little more context for your data right here. Miles per gallon, all this good stuff, number of cylinders. A lot of things I know right here and a lot of things I don't know. So especially when it comes to interpretation, utilize this for interpretation. So that will help with interpretation. QSec, I might have a harder time interpreting, so I might just go to weight, which are 2 cars that differ by 1,000 pounds. Let's go over to Trace's question. Keep asking those questions. Trace says, for 6B, when it asks for practical significance has improved, do we just cite the R² value? Yeah, and so here we'll go and talk about this. So whenever you're doing practical significance of your model, the main values we super care about, just so... Oh, this is my transform model. It's height and weight transform model. You're welcome, Aisha. Thank you so much. Let's try out some more 20 points. Just keep asking those questions. Just whatever you're thinking, be like, hey, is this right? Am I doing this? Am I supposed to do this? I'm just here to offer as much help as I can. So when you talk about practical significance, there's really a few values. Residual standard error, which the units is probably going to change. So if you're changing the units of y, it's not going to be really easy to compare the typical miss the model makes because it's in a different units of y. What do we do to our y variable? We're predicting height. So I guess we want to cube root this. If we're to bring it back, 36. What was our original one? That's when we predict somebody's height? Well, that's not good. Something weird about that. But the typical miss the model makes when predicting the cube of somebody's height. Yeah. It's typically off by about 46,750 when predicting the cube of someone's height. Ridiculous. But so that really doesn't have much good context, but this model does explain 41% of the variation. So the better one to understand right here would definitely be the R squared. R squareds are numbers to cite for practical significance. We oftentimes want to compare our models to see which model is better. So that is our goal. Model comparison is the goal right here. Is this model better? Why is this model better? What evidence do you have to support this model being better? If the units of the Y don't change, we could look for some RMSE. If we've messed around on our units of Y, then we can switch over and start looking at some R squared only. If we're doing the multiple world, this is going to be super important. We're not doing the multiple world right now, though. That does say a 2 p.m. meeting. We're not doing the multiple world, so this is not going to be the big one. This is the big one right now because we're just doing the simple world. How's that looking, Trace? Does that make sense? Definitely maybe doing the difference between those, stuff like that. Always, there's my also reminder via calendar. Always want to do this. Think about if you have a friend who says they'll drive you 2% of the way to New York versus a friend who says they'll drive you 13% of the way to New York. So you have two friends. One says, I'll drive you 2%. Another friend says, I'll drive you 13%. I mean, 13% is better, but you might say both models are kind of meh. But what if you have a friend who says, I'll drive you 88% of the way to New York versus a friend who says, I'll drive you 100% of the way to New York? So just be thinking about what it means to you. What if you had a friend who said, I'll drive you 98% of the way to New York versus a friend who says, I'll drive you 100% of the way to New York? Now, that's only a 2% increase. So it's always, that's the hardest part about practical significance, is you have to make a case for it. I'm like, it's just, there's no, is 2% good? Are we talking like 98 to 100? That's amazing. You know, it's like, oh, I finished 2% of my homework. The final 2%. Yes. I finished 2% of my homework. The first 2%. Oh, man, I got a lot ahead of me. So in the context of the 2% we're getting in return matters. Is this a 2% that gets us a lot further along? Is it a very valuable 2%? Are we talking 2% of the stock market? I mean, if you go from a 2% understanding of the stock market to a 13% understanding of the stock market, that sounds awesome. If you go from a 2% understanding of how much miles per gallon cars get to a 13% understanding, I think we still don't have enough valuable information to leverage, and we should work towards a better model that has better variables in it. So it's really going to come down to what variables are we trying to understand, how, you know, minus fumbles lost and numbers of wins. Yeah. That might be, and that might be, I do not think 1% would matter so much. Yeah. And for the transformation, if you're only getting a 1% return on the transformation, then I'd be like, you know, this transformation just does not seem to be doing that much for me. I'm losing my ability to describe my why in terms of units of the problem. So that's when I'm pushing away from a transformation. There's times where I think transformations are good when you get a big return. There's times where I think transformations are bad where you don't have a big return. It's all context. It's just, how much are we getting from this? Is it worth it? Is it worth it to change the values of the y and the x's to different transformed values? I do not know. I do not know. That is the big, big, big question. It's going to be a fun interview. It's an interview about the research. Don't wait, Autis Mobile. My gosh. I won my diet bet. They're too funny with what they say. They reply to you and they're like, great job on your diet bet. You are doing great. Oh my gosh. So crazy. So crazy. Yeah, 1%. 1% is the hardest thing to justify. Here, I'll up here to spice. 1% is definitely the hardest, like a small return. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you, Trace. Like I'm trying to get down towards like, I think my goal weight is like 178, like upper 170s, but I'm trying to get stronger. Like I don't want to be like a super thin 178. Like, I don't know, 6'3". What you gonna do? But to win the diet bet, I have to be like 180. So I'm really hoping by the end of this, I'm not like, I've not gained a bunch of muscle and I'm like, I gotta cut weight, gotta get 5% body fat. Because that's not my goal, to be like 5% body fat, which is ridiculous. That's what people are in like shows and stuff like that who do stuff I don't do, like bodybuilding. I don't know. I've done a bunch of research on this, and it looks like healthy. Like you're around healthy around 25. Like 25 is not like amazing, but 25 I'd start to say is like your healthy range. 20 is your like fit. 15% is like athletic. 10% is like going towards bodybuilder, like movie star looks when you get down towards 10%. And 5% is like the people who are in like bodybuilding shows when they look like they're just muscle. So you don't want to be down in that 5% range. I mean, that's unless you're doing that sort of thing and that's your goal. You know, it seems to me like a lot of healthy individuals who are fit are probably closer to 15%. As I look through the data, it's like, okay, 15%. And I did some measurements and I think I'm around like 23% right now. So I'm like, okay, that's 8% body fat that I might want to try to get down. I don't know. I'm a very mathematical person. I'm just like, how does this all work? And then looking at caloric deficits and all these things and how that all works, because you can't just be like, I'm going to cut 1,500 calories a day. Then your body's going to be like, well, I'm just going to eat your muscle. And that's bad. It's, I don't know. I got some good advice on people who to watch. So, I've been watching a few YouTubers and trying to get their advice. If anyone ever has advice, definitely yeah. That's my goal. I ran cross country, track, swimming, wrestling in high school. And in high school, I was 6'3" and I weighed, but I wasn't nearly, I'm not like super strong now, but I'm way stronger than I was in high school. But I was 6'3" and I weighed, I was in the 150s. Then I went to the 160s. And when I got to college, I went to like 170s, 180s. And then after college, I went to the 200s. But at 6'3", the lightest I've weighed is like in the 150s. But I can't get back there because I'm not that sort of, like, I would have to lose a bunch of muscle. Like when I was 6'3", 155 or so, that's when I was running like 80 miles a week. There was weeks where we did 100-mile runs. And so we would go out on like Saturdays and do long, slow distance and run 15, 20 miles. Like we're basically running a marathon. And it's like, oh, let's go out for 2-3 hours and run. Okay. I remember one time I just ran down this road and ran as far as I could till I got tired and then just started walking back and then started running back. And I was like, oh, I ran for like an hour and 15 minutes. I'm like, I'm pretty far away. And I'm at like 6:37 minute mile pace. So I probably ran, if you're running a 6-minute mile pace down the road, and I was probably closer to a 7-minute mile pace. So I went at least like 8-9 miles down that road. And then you got to go 8-9 miles back. So that day alone, I probably did like, 18 miles or so or something ridiculous. Just I was like, I'll just run until I'm tired. And then I'll just come back. I'll just rest for a little bit and get my energy back and then just try to jog it back a little bit. It's going to take longer to come back. That's like one of the few runs I remember because it was really nice. I was just like it was really nice. I'm training for a sub 3-hour marathon. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so a marathon is 26.2, right? So if you're on sub 3 hour, 26.2 marathon, 180 minutes divided by 6 by 26.2, Yeah, you're basically going sub 7 minute. So yeah, I mean, if you're doing 7 minute mile pace, you need to go sub 7 minutes. The heat makes it insane. Oh, it was such a nice day. Actually, it was so cold that I remember like I was actually getting cold and I was actually like running to warm up. It was in upstate New York around like November. Like if you time travel, you'll go find me doing this. Probably upstate New York, November. Needs, yeah, you don't need 630 mile pace. It looks like you need, it says 6.87 right here. I'll show you the mathematics. Because marathons are 26.2 and there's 180 minutes in 3 hours. So if you divide that by 26.2, you're talking 6 minutes, 0.87. So that 0.87 out of the 60 seconds is going to be. So if you can go about 650, I mean, you might try to go for 630 mile pace, but I've been doing this stretch of run and trying to get it down towards a 5 minute mile. I'm trying to run just a 6 minute mile again. I'll be happy if I can just crank out 1 6 minute mile, which Trace, you sound like you're in much better shape than I am right now. Just I don't know if I'll ever be able to run my best times. So I'll show you some times right here. Hop back to here. I'll show you one of my best races, Trace. If anyone has questions related to the class, just let me know. Okay, I'm gonna find. My gosh. Okay. What? They better have this here. Okay, we got it. Let's go look at a race from the 90s. Here is a race from the 90s. Yeah, 6:30 would be awesome. So this occurred, like this is, remember I said November, you catch me outside running. We're running 6.21 miles. So that's a 10K right here. So good old fashioned 10K. 8Ks are almost exactly 5 miles. And then if you look down here, this dude right here, 25 years old, just crushing it with 517 mile pace. You can't even see it right there. But man, that dude right there, Joe Hall, Lance Hall was his son. But if you go down here, Brian Stevens, Lance Hall, dude was 15, just crushing me in this race. But, you know, like you're talking running way more than me. This was a pretty good pace. But overall in this race, I mean, it wasn't a super competitive race. One of my favorite races, because I came in 7th in this race, I was like, yes. My best 5K was 17:12, I think. And I think they said, I think this track was a little short. So, but I got faster my senior year. This was my junior year of high school. Sub 40 for a 10K is still crazy. Yeah. Sub 40 was pretty tough. I was very happy about that sub 40. I mean, I remember seeing that clock and saying 39. I was like, oh man, it's just 39 something. Like you turn around the corner and you see 39 on the clock and you just start booking it. Oh man, I just remembered to think about this race. So Lance Hall right here, amazing runner, ran for NC State, I believe. So really, really good runner. Father was runner too. But 2 years younger than me and just crushing my times. And you get faster during this time period. This is not the point in my life where you get slower as you get older. But Lance Hall went by me and he started running down this road. So Lance is like running down this road and this lady goes, "Are you guys in the race?" And we're like, "Yes." And she goes, "You should have turned back here." And she was one of the people, you know, like sit on the side. And there was only a few people who had gone through the area to like go through the race. And maybe because she had like maybe gone away between this blip between David and I. But you know, as we're here with these are the superstars. Like these people, dude, Steve Crowder is just crushing it. That dude is in a class all of his own when you look at these top 5 right here. But Lance and myself are a little bit of a break. Like you've got right here your A-class runners, your B-class runners, and then Lance and I, we're doing good, but there's a separation right here of 2 minutes. So maybe she had like gone away or something or whatever. But Lance had ran further down. And I have a strong will to beat people. Like I've got a good kick at the end of races. And I remember Lance started running next to me. I started running with him. And I was just like, yeah, dude. Yeah, Steve, I think he was someone who was competing or something. But yeah, I don't know if you look up the 10Ks for Olympic, he's almost running a 5 minute mile, like 6 minutes. I mean, 6 miles. Yeah, that's a very strong time. And so, yeah, but he, when Lance ran by me, I think I said something like, "Man, you got it. Just take it." Because I got a good kick at the end. I think I was also really tired. Maybe that's more my excuse. But I wonder if he remembers that race. I'd love to like talk to Lance and be like, I'd be like, do you remember that race where the lady forgot to tell you which way to go? I think he kind of said a few choice words or like was like because he had been running really hard in one direction. And I was kind of losing my steam, and I hadn't gone further down the wrong way than he had, and my brain was just like, this is not the time to outkick him. Like I knew he was in my age group. Like Lance Hall showed up at a lot of races, and he was pretty killer. Like he was like, if Lance Hall was here, it's like, dang it, we're not going to get some medals. Lance Hall is going to get those medals. Has he ran anything lately? 32. Wait, he can't be 32 because he ran right here. He ran a 5. Man, he's busting out a 5K. 11 years later, busting out a 5K at a pretty amazing time. Sub 17 on a 5K. And he's in his late 20s then. Sub 17 on a 5K. He's not 8 because you look at my age. My age is going to be wrong on this too. Go to Brian's age. Did you know Brian's 34 years old? And you can kind of see my progression right here as I go from like 1996. I wish I was 34. But their calculations have stopped. This, and there's the Carolina for a Cure. So this is where I'm starting to get faster towards my senior year is going to be year 2000 for me. And I started to go into the 17s at this point. On a quick side note, for 6A, do we need to just quote the linearity equals spread? Make sure to talk through them. Here, we'll talk about that next right here. We'll go away from Brian talking about running. I eventually got to a sub 6 minute for my 5Ks, but it's just I wasn't living in North Carolina after this point and wasn't running as many races. But that's kind of my progression from a freshman right here to a junior in high school right there. So, yay, fun times. Memory lane. So, big stuff right here. Let's put on a little music and just chill while we do this. But congratulations, Trace. Keep working towards that marathon. Just set goals. The way you make things happen is with goals. You don't just say I'm going to run a marathon one day. Like I want to run a 6-minute mile again. Like it's my goal. If I can just crank out a 6-minute mile, I think that's good and healthy for me. Not saying I just need to crank out 3 of them. That'd be great. Then I run a 5K at like 18:36 pace or something like that. So when you do this right here, let's go take a look at this. One of the people who went to my high school is training for the Olympics and runs a 104 mile. Yeah. What is his name? Shoot. I've seen some documentaries on him. Not Lance Hall anymore. There was a guy in high school, or in the year 2001. In high school, a sub 6-minute mile is really awesome. In the U.S. track and field 10K championship with 28 is their time. Oh God. Then it means you're on your 5Ks in 14. Going sub 15 is insane in a 5K. I think the best 5K times are like 13/12, but you go to 10K, you're doing twice as much. Those are insane times. Yeah, and sub 4 in high school. What's that dude's name? Dude who ran the track in high school. He did his sub 4 on an indoor track. So some people were like, he did it on an indoor track. I don't care. He did a sub 4 mile. Sub 4 miles is insane. Like sub 5 is tough. Congrats if you get to sub 5. You go sub 4 in high school, you're a beast. Or just in general, go sub 4. Like I'm trying to bust out right now, like running a 1/7 of a mile at a 5K pace. And my body's like, what are you doing? But I'm like training every day for this. Let's do this. So when you check these p-values right here, just talking about the p-values checks, it's very important you understand what you're doing. Yeah. Look up 2001 sub 4 mile. You'll find the guy who I'm talking about. Once you say his name, give me his first name only. I'll tell you his last name. If you look up 2001 4-minute mile, just give me his first name and I'll give you his last name. It's like in my brain. So when you do these right here, make sure it's very clear your decision. You don't want to just tell me the p-value. So you're going to lose points if you're just like, p-value this, p-value this. Well, yeah, I can look at the output too and tell you those p-values. Wasn't Nathan, was it? Watch me be like, you give me the first name. I'm like, I don't know. So you don't want to just give the p-values. You want to make sure someone knows. Alan Webb. It's Alan Webb. That's who it is. Alan Webb. Yep. Alan Webb crushing it with that 4-minute mile back in 2001. People were like, what the heck? He's got a YouTube video on it, like on his history, and he does more CrossFit now stuff. I think he's still very athletic. When you're that pro of an athlete, or when you're that, Alan Webb. Those are my sports right here, just running, doing that kind of stuff. Yeah, when we heard about Alan Webb, we're just like, some dude in high school's doing a 4-minute mile. What the heck? Dude's crushing it. My schools were pretty good at cross country, track and field, and stuff like that. You know what's really funny? So does that make sense here, Trace, right here? With this right here, please be clear on what the p-values are. You need to provide analysis and talk about this. If your analysis is made clear of what you will be doing right here, especially the diagnostics, probably you could do this right here, and as long as it's clear down here what your decisions are, like, you're probably going to lose more points if it's not clear that you understand how to do this. If you're just like p-value, 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 diagnostics good, not good check. I need to know you know what's going on by looking at these plots. Does this suffice to be... Yeah, delete that real quick too. That's exactly what I'm looking for. That's exactly what I'm looking for, which means you don't need to look at the diagnostics. Double check the lectures. Here, I'll give the hints right here. High p-value good, low p-value bad. I mean, that is literally the information. Please, we've been going over this like 3 times in class. Like, we know how to do it. Thank you so much, Trace. Excellent work. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Pretty standard to interpret. And then the other ones would be the same way, right, Trace? Trace, great job right there. Excellent work. We'll probably head off here in like 5 minutes. But keep asking those questions if you got it. So you get those little bonuses if you're here live to see like someone checks their answer. You can always check your answer and then delete it. So if you're watching live, you get to see like, oh, someone put an answer. Wait, that's you got it. You gotta be quick. But yeah, no, I think the guy I've been watching on YouTube lately, I'll say his name, Greg Doucette. He's a bodybuilder type guy, and I think what I like about him is, and it was a student who suggested me to him. It's a good song. Okay, awesome. So would you just requote this info in 6A compared to the... Yeah, exactly. You exactly got it right there. Just look through there and look to see like how it works. Like if it got better, if it got worse, how are the... You don't really need to... That's... I think it was a student who suggested him to me. And he's pretty positive about stuff, which I like. I like people who are positive. I mean, he's going to, call out stuff. And he's got his degrees in kinesiology. I think he's got a bachelor's and a master's, that's what I want to see. I want to see someone who knows. You should watch James Damore for running. Oh yeah, well yeah. Send me a link via like Discord or something like that. I'll check it out. Like I look into a lot of things, and Greg's just got a lot of good advice on like I've been looking over his like his fruit advice, and just different foods you should be eating or not eating. And the biggest thing is he uses calories in, calories out a lot of time. He was talking about Jeff Cavalier, who does Athlete X, I don't know how to say it. Which I think Jeff gives a lot of good advice too, especially on like workouts and properly training your muscles, because you just don't want to be crazy. Like you don't want to be one of those ego lifters just going in just like, ugh. You want to not hurt your body. And so I look to people who have really good advice in these areas, like understand the science behind it. And I really like that he quotes a lot of data. And so I'm always worried about being 6'3", like hurting my knees, just a lot of joint pains and stuff like that. And one thing I like that Greg kind of makes clear is we've all got, different advantages and disadvantages. Like I'm never going to be one of those people who can stretch really well. The beef between Athlete was there? I didn't see that. I'm new. I'm a newbie too. I've seen Athlete X for a while, but I haven't seen. But I'm new to Greg Doucette's channel, and I just like that he makes it clear, like, yeah, you're probably not going to be the best stretcher in the world. Like, I'm never going to be one of those people who could... I'm flexible and, like, it's weird. One of my great-grandparents was a contortionist. I've got, like, good back flexibility, but, like, my leg flexibility is very bad. I don't know. No, I'm a runner. I was a runner. And I'm pretty good at, like, upper body strength and core strength. But like I've never been really arm strength. And so it's like, okay, so here's the areas I'm good at, and there's gonna be areas I'm bad at. I'm, more predisposition towards these areas of fitness than others. And that's okay. I just kind of might work on some and try to improve with my own goals. And I just kind of like that attitude. It's like, okay, set your own goals and realize your strengths and your weaknesses, And if you want to improve your weaknesses and become more well-rounded, that's great. Like if I want to become better at stretching, I'm never going to be like some contortionist, Olympic type person who can do these amazing things, but maybe I'm going to reach some new goals for myself. And I think that's just what we all have to keep in mind. Exactly. And then you could optimize your strengths. You could be like, well, I'm really good at, like, Greg Doucette says, he's like, I'm really good at bench press. So I'm just going to crush it at bench press and be the absolute best bench presser. But then he likes triathlon stuff like biking. And he's like, well, I'm good at biking, but I'm not like going to be the best biker in the world. But I like biking. So I'm going to do this because I like it. And I just realized in that I might go from like starting out towards the average because, I've got some fitness to my advantage, but just the way my body works, I'm just not going to be the best like biker in the world. So then maybe as I go up, I'm going to reach the top 20% or the top 10%, but it's going to be very hard for me to reach these upper echelons because everyone's just different. And some people are just more advantaged in certain areas of physicality than others. That's okay. You can optimize your strengths or work to improve other things. I don't know. I just like that attitude. That speaks to me a lot. It's just like, yeah, well, it's okay. Hey, if I'm really bad at stretching, and by next year I could touch my toes comfortably, oh my God, that'd be insane. So I'll leave you with that. Just be happy with the world and try to improve yourself each day. Like if you're bad at coding just doesn't work for you, but you start to understand these functions a little bit more. You're like, I just want to understand that LM function. That's my goal. And you work with it a whole bunch. And you're like, I got the LM function down. You punch the microphone. You're like, yes, I got something down. I learned it. Maybe you're a pro at coding. So you're like, I'm going to use this to my advantage. Some people are pros at stuff and they don't use it to their advantage. Some people have a moderate ability at stuff and work super hard at it. And I think that's my last bit of advice is that, although sometimes people are better at things, and I'm going to disagree with Greg Doucette right here, I truthfully believe it might be hard to achieve anything in this world, but a hard work beats out advantage each time. Because someone who works hard, if the other person who has advantage doesn't work at all, they lose each time. You could have all the advantage in the world, and the person who works harder is going to win. So hard work. In the equation of what wins, hard work wins. I knew people in high school who, probably were better runners than me. I'm a bigger guy for running. And I was out there running 80 miles a week. And when I went my senior year of high school and I was in the 17 minutes, I was beating out those people. They were in the 18 minutes. But you know what? I never beat those 14, 15-minute people because they had the combo. They had the hard work and they had the advantage. So if I'm going against the combo, that's a problem. But if I'm going against someone who has the advantage and I have the hard work, I'm going to beat you with my hard work right here. Exactly. That's exactly it, Trace, right here. Brian with his hard work and maybe not the best runner in the world is going to win out. Person with the advantage but no work, you're losing. But then I'm going to get crushed by the person who has the advantage and the hard work. Like that's when you reach your Alan Webbs right there who are just like suited for running. Like they've just got this runner build and like being a lot taller, I would say is not the best advantage for running. Longer legs. I don't know. Maybe I was at an advantage. Maybe I didn't work hard enough. More next time. More talk on statistics, baby. We'll be back here. I'm going to go talk to some people. I'll be back. Bye for now, everyone. Bye. Good luck, Trace. Keep working hard, man.